Hello, class. Today is the last movie I'm going to be making for the year. This is to go over the final exam. Please realize this is a study guide, not a topics covered on the exam. So there could be things that are not in here that are on the test. So just be aware of that. You can't say that it just because it's not on here is it's not on the test. So pseudocode directions, what I'm talking about here is the best example would be to how to get from your seat to sharpen the pencil, sharpen a pencil at the pencil sharpener in the front of the room. Note, if you say walk to the pencil sharpener, you will fall over because you are seated in your seat. Do not assume anything. Make sure you cover all conditionals. What that means is you can say be in your seat, seated at your desk, and then go from there. Does everyone get that? Because if you were to just say walk to the pencil sharpener and you're seated, you can't walk when you're sitting down. So other examples would be how to make a paper airplane. Another one is how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Please realize if these are listed here, odds are they're not on the test. Next one. That's not going to work. Comments in all three different types. So the different types of comments are this, which equals documentation comments. And it ends with this. This is bulk comments. So if you were to do aka more than one line of comments, and it ends like that. This is one line inline comments, which basically be if you want to comment a specific line of code, that's what you'd use. This would be this is below the public class, above the main. Functions. Please realize that methods are directly used with an object. Functions are on their own. You should know that. Please realize constructors initiate a object. What that means is basically sets up the object to hold the initial values. The constructor in the character class would be, this is a good example. So that would be the code for that. A getter is a method that gets the value of a private variable. What that means is in the character class we have this right here is a getter. So the code example is that. The setter is a method that sets the value of a private variable. So a setter would be, code example would be for this would be a public void, because we're not returning anything, and it would be set strength, and inside here would be a temporary variable like int str, and then the only code that happens inside of this would be strength equals str, because you can't directly control strength outside of this variable. So we have getters, setters, return types, parameters, and function names. So in this line of code, what is it? Return type is the void is nothing. Int would be the return type for current HP. So because there's void here before the function name, that's the return type. So basically what is in front of the function method name. The parameters is what is inside the parentheses of a function or method. And what that basically is the int strength. The parameter type would be an int, and there is only one. The function name is what is in front of the parameters and after the return type, aka set strength. So we have that done. Any questions on functions or methods? Random numbers. So you guys might want to pay attention to this. Please realize that random numbers, we have AAA and BBB. So let's say int x equals that. Please realize that int typecasts the later value from a double to an int. And this might be a float, I'm not sure. Double float to an int. Please realize that AAA is the amount or range of numbers that are produced. BBB is the initial value. So the range example would be AAA to BBB minus 1. Because one of the range in here is this AAA value. So, for example, if I had this, what are two numbers?
7 and 2. 4.
7 and 2. The range would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers starting at 2. AKA 2 to 8. You should be able to make your own create a random number function.
Does that mean how to write that whole line and x equals?
So basically a getter for a random number. So the getter would be up here. This example of get a random number instead of get HP. Primitive variable types and strings. So primitive variable types. The primitives are int, short, byte, double, float, long, Boolean. What these are is a short is half the size of an int. A long is double the size of a int. A float is a decimal. A double is a float and an int combined. And a byte is a 0 or 1, I think it is. It's 1 byte of data. And a Boolean is true or false. And strings, I talk about later. Please realize string is an object, not a primitive. Typecasting. Int x equals 0.9 does not work. 0.9 is a float, not an int. To make this work, you'd have to say int x equals parentheses int 0.9. This works. I'm typecasting the value of 0.9 into an int. The other way to do this is if you were to say double x equals 5, this would automatically be 5.0 because it would automatically set 5 to become a double, which has a decimal value. Also realize that if I do system.out.print line of a number, so just put in 8. This, I don't know if this works. Does it? I think it does. This works, but 8 is typecasted to a string. To show this, what you would do is you would do the double quote, plus. And this shows the typecasting to a string. Does everyone get what I mean by that?
No.
Remember when ooh, this should say plus. Remember when you had, what was it? S current line dot hash code. Wow. This is not a string, and if you did a BW, if you did a BW.write with this, you would get an error. Because hash code is not a string. So what you had to do is you had to put this double quote plus, which means this is a string, therefore when I run this code, this part of it will be a string.
And so that works.
This works.
Okay.
So basically just put a double quote plus in front of it. You also had to do this on your if program and your lyrics program. Any questions on this? What complex string would be if you had like something like this?
Yeah.
Where you'd actually have this string and a variable combined. Any other questions? So the next one, method tracing, running code by hand. If I were to take this code, and let's change this to 1 to 9, 10 to 20. And please realize these would be math.random variables. So what you would have to do is you have to go through and look at this code. Okay, so is 1 through 9 less than 10 through 20? This is always true. So you would then say, okay, so is 1 through 10 greater than or equal to 1 through 10? 50% true. This isn't 50%. I'm just going to go like that. 50% true, which means half the time it's true, half the time it's not. And so you would say, okay, so odds are, you would say odds are this would be outputted. What I mean by this is you should be able to go through, and if I gave you values for this, so let's do this, x equals 5, x equals 5, y equals 20, and z equals 2. So if I said x, y, x, z, you should be able to say, is x less than, so is 5 less than 20? This would be true. Is 5 greater than or equal to 2? This would be true. This is always true. So this is outputted. All the time. You should be able to tell me in this if statement which one's outputted. The other thing you should be able to do with tracing is if I give you a random set of numbers, so int x equals 10. If I say x plus plus x equals x minus 10, x equals 3, x equals x divided by 2, you should tell me, you should be able to tell me that x equals 10.
Next one is x equals like 10 plus 1.
X equals 11, yes. And then x equals 1, x equals 3, and x equals 1. Please note right here, this is definitely on the test. This is an integer value. That means decimals do not exist with integers. You just chop off the decimal. So that means 3 divided by 2 is technically 1.5. We get rid of the 0.5, so x equals 1. You should be able to do this. Just chop off the decimal. You do not round at all. You should also be able to trace through pseudocode. Okay, so let's go int y equals, give me a number.
30.
30. Y minus, y equals y minus 5. Y equals y divided by 3. And then y equals 2. Y minus minus. You should be able to do that. I would do that real quick right now to see if you're correct. Okay, so int y equals 30. So y would be 30. Subtract 5, y would be 25. Divide by 3 would be 24 remainder. So 3 times 8 is 24. Y would then be 2. Y would then be 1. Okay, so if we have int j equals 7, let's go. Let's make this larger so you can see it. And then let's say j minus minus, j equals j plus j, j plus plus, j equals j divided by 2, j equals j times 2 times j equals 3. Yeah, do that. Go ahead and try that right now. Let me make it bigger so you can see it. You should be able to just do this on a notepad or something. You just need to tell me the value of j at every line. So write down 6 numbers. Hey, there we go. Thank you. There's no compile errors at all there.
No, there's no error.
Anyone want to call out the next one? What's the value here?
6.
6, because we're decreasing j by 1. Next one is 12 because we're doubling it. Next one is 13. Next one is 6 because the 0.5 gets cut off because it's an int. And the last one is 3. Thank you so much.
All of it just to have it.
Yeah. Go through code. Tell me what it is every step.
Yeah, that was hard. I definitely would have failed that question.
There is also pseudocode that you have to trace. So just be aware of that. It's not just the numbers. Let's see if this works. That's how you do that. If I were to give you pseudocode for a... If I give you pseudocode, you should be able to trace through it. So if you get a number... So what's a number? 4. While the number is not 0, is the number 0? No. So add the number to the running total. So total equals 4. Increment the count of numbers read in. So count equals 1. And then get a number. What's the new number? 2. Is 2 0? No. So total equals 6. Count equals 2. What's another number? 7. Is 7 0? No. So total equals 13. Count equals 3. What's a number? 5. You guys aren't picking up on this. Total equals 18. Count equals 4. What's another number?
4.
4. The number we already got. Total equals 22. Count equals 5. What's another number? 6. Total equals 28. Count equals 6. 9. Is 9 0? No. So total equals 37. Count equals 7. What's another number? 12. Is 12 0? No. So total equals 49. Count equals 8. What's another number? 1. Total equals 50. Is 1 0? No. So repeat. The total equals 50. Count equals 9. What's another number? 0. Is...
I said it first.
I know, but I was ignoring it a couple of times. Is 0 not 0? False. So I exit out. Divide the running total by the count in order to get the average. So 50 divided by 9, I'm just going to lie and say the average is 5. Average equals 5. Does everyone see how to do that? You should be able to trace through a sort like that. Please realize that I am showing every single step. I'm not skipping to the end. I'm not just writing average equals 5. I'm showing every step along the way. Compile errors. So the big issues are semicolon at the end. Make sure that make sure lowercase and uppercase is correct. What I mean by that, int is wrong, int is wrong, int is correct. String is correct. String is not. What other compile errors do you guys know about? Input.text is wrong. Input.txt is correct. A Boolean is correct. Bool is not. Refer to compile test answers on YouTube, because that goes over them in detail. Sorts. You should be able to go through my pseudocode on a sort. What I mean by that is, if I give you 5 cards, you should be able to sort those 5 cards how I tell you to do so. Any questions on that? Scaled picture. The program scale picture, you should know where lines are. You should know how to draw a line. You should know how to draw a rectangle. You should be able to give me code for it, and you should be able to extract the code from a picture. I think that's it. You should know the difference between draw rect, fill rect, all that other jazz. Draw oval, fill oval, draw line. You should know line versus rect, which means xy versus xy with length. Any other questions on scale picture program? If program. Booleans, ifs, elses, conditional operators. You also need to know if, else. Nested if. Double nested if. Everyone know what conditional operators are? So how come you didn't ask? Greater than, less than. Greater than or equal to. Less than or equal to. Or. And, not equal, equal. You should know the difference between equal versus equal sign. Equal says, do they equal each other? Equals assigns the value on the right to the left. Idle game program. You should know what mouse clicker is, what it does. You should know about pictures, sounds, and variable manipulation. Any questions on that? What I mean by variable manipulation is how to increase a variable. Plus, plus, minus, minus, x equals x minus 10, all that jazz you should know. Basically everything you need to know on the clicker game, the idle game. You don't need to know how to do an if statement for its inside to click a certain area. I was nice about that. But you should be familiar with all this code for compile errors. Loops. You should know how to do a for loop. If I give you 4 ints x equals 5, x is greater than 0, x minus minus, you should be able to trace through this and say sum equals sum plus plus, sum plus 1, sum plus x. You should be able to trace through this program. So what I want to do right now is please trace through this program and see if you are correct. Huh? Yeah. You should be able to do this. What I mean by this is you should be able to say sum equals, to get this, what you're saying is, what's the value of x the first time I run this? 5. I decrease x, so I add 5 to sum. Sum becomes 5. That's what this represents. So I'm going to say x equals 5, sum equals 5. Then the next run through, I decrease x. So what is x? What's sum? 9. 5 plus 4. However, the next thing is, x does equal 0. But it disappears, so it doesn't matter. And you still add 15 plus 0. Wait, no, you don't. You drop out of the loop. This does not get run. You should be able to do this. You should be able to do this for a do while and a while loop. You should know the difference between a do while versus a while. This is on the lyrics test. Lyrics program, you should know string functions. You should know char ret says the index of the string gives me that char. So if I were to give you a a string. So string F equals hello, Mr. F. If I say f dot charat of 4, what does that give me? The fourth character. The fourth character, this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 equals 0 equals O. So let's do another one. What is 5?
Nothing.
It's not nothing. Nope. Zero, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's here? So I'm going to say space. What about charat 22? Yes, compile error. Because it's out of range. What is at 0? Capital H. Concat basically is the plus sign. I add two strings together. Ends with the string. If I say ends with F, this would be true. If I say ends with lowercase f, it'd be false for the string F. Equals is basically equal sign for strings. They say the value inside is equals, not if they're the same thing. Index of, we already did that. Oh, index of. So if I were to say index of, so the same thing right up here. Where is it? Index of a char. So if I were to say index of, so f dot index of E. What would that give me? 1. When's the first index of the character E? So I would have to just put character E. This would be 0, 1. That's how I get 1. I can do the same thing with a string. And this would be, if I were to say Mr., what would that be? Zero, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So basically, where's the char at M? Length. Length of this would be, so f dot length equals what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Char at 11? Error. Compile, because it would be out of bounds. Replace, you should know what that does. Replace all, you should know what that does. The difference between this is this does once, this does all of them. This is only the first one. Oh, wait, no. This is a character. Replaces a character, all of them. This replaces a string of all of them. This replaces the first instance of that string. So that explanation was about substring, not subsequence, sub-character sequence. The character sequence would have given you an array of characters. You don't want that. 2 lowercase, you should know lowercase is all the letters. 2 string just prints out that string. Uppercase increases all the characters to uppercase. Trim, basically, if I had the string this, see all those spaces? So if I did f dot trim, that would equal this. It would get rid of all those leading and ending spaces. And that's pretty much it. Any other questions you guys have for me for the final? So that's it. Have a good one. I'm going to put on after this all the other questions from the other classes. So feel free to watch that. Have a good one. Good luck on the final. And do your best. See you later.